What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Okay, I want to talk about one of the big issues that I see a lot of entrepreneurs really struggling with to make their business more profitable. It's something that Anuj brought to me about his hairdresser. He was getting his hair clipped the other day. It looks nice and streamlined, but his hairdresser was telling him that she's going to be moving locations. And so he asked her, are you going to be raising your prices? And she said no. And they had this back and forth about how you should raise your prices. And yet she pushed back. And there's a lot of reasons why we push back on the idea of raising our prices. The main one, though, is we're afraid by raising our prices that people are going to leave us and then our business is going to suffer. We're going to make less money. In reality, I think that's the justification that we make for not wanting to raise our prices. But the real reason is actually underlying that. It's a psychological reason. It's that you don't feel that you're worthy of the higher number. It's you casting a vote to say, I'm not worth that. Therefore, I don't think anybody else thinks I'm worth that. Therefore, they won't pay that. And so you're standing in front of your own way, stopping yourself from raising your prices. And the truth is that there's a whole lot more price elasticity in the market than you even realize. And the truth is that for the most part, a 10 to 20% price increase is not going to be felt by the majority of customers, majority of consumers. And so I want to walk you through an example with some math here that I would have walked this lady through to help her understand that the easiest way that you can make more money in your business, the profit, to increase that, is to pull the lever of price. And it's not going to affect you nearly as badly as you might believe. And so let's walk through the numbers. So this lady currently is doing 70 appointments per week. That's 30 minutes per appointment. So roughly 35 hours per week of actual hair clipping time. So that's, profit driving, revenue driving activities. That doesn't include all the admin and stuff I'm sure that she does outside of that. So put on another 10 hours, she probably does 45 to 50 hours a week of work. Anyways, so she currently charges $50 for a haircut. Now, the very first thing I like to do is just map out what would happen if we decrease the price and what if we increase the price. So I'm just going to keep it really simple and say currently she's doing $50 per cut. So that's $3,500 per week. If you were to decrease the prices by 20%, then down to $40 per haircut, then that would only be $2,800. And if you were to increase the price by 20% up to $60 for a haircut, you would be making $4,200 per week. And so the delta here between all of these is either up or minus $700. So you're either losing $700 or you're making an extra $700 per week based on if you raise your prices to $60 or down to $40. So that's our baseline. Now, the next thing that you want to map out is ask yourself, okay, what if I did raise my prices, how many people would I potentially lose? And at what number of people do I lose? Would I need to hit to break even still? Right. And so at $60, if you're doing $60 per haircut, then you would work backwards from that and ask yourself, how many clients would I need to keep at 60 to maintain this $3,500 baseline that you're currently doing in your life? And so just off the top of my head, that's probably around 60, right? That gets you to $3,600 per week. So if you started charging $60 per haircut, you would only need to lose 10 clients from the 70 down to the 60, and you'd still be making more. And so you would have to lose over 10% of your client base. That's actually closer to 15% of your clients. Oops, that was weird. 15% would have to leave for you to still be making more than you were in the previous situation. Now, here's the interesting bit is that, if you were to go from 70 clients down to 60 per week, that's 10 less. So that's 5 hours less of work that you're doing each week. So now that 35 drops to 30. That's pretty good from a life balance perspective, right? Now, here's the thing that we think about in real estate. There's this optimal pricing strategy. You would think, and you see this a lot in the self-storage space where a building might have like 100 different units. You would think 100% occupancy is the desired end state. but it's actually not. Like, you actually do not want to have your calendar completely packed, jam full of meetings, and you don't want to have all of your storage units filled. The reason for that is because if you are 100% occupied, that means you are not optimizing the price per unit of that. It means that there's more demand than you have supply to fill. The optimal place that real estate investors have found is that you really want to maintain 80 to 90%. And, you know, if you can be in that 90 to 95% range, that's even better. Because at 90 to 95%, you are maximizing. That tells you that your price is at the upper end of what the market can sustain. If you go higher than that and this 90% starts to drop, you know, down to 80 and underneath of 80, then you're definitely overpriced. And that might be okay if you're significantly overpriced. Now you're in the luxury premium pricing strategy, right? And in that case, maybe you're charging $100 per haircut and you're okay only being 60% occupied, because you know at 100%, as long as you don't lose half of your clientele, like, you'd only need to service 35 people to have that same break even number, right? But you get to have a higher quality of clientele. You have to do less haircuts per week. So now instead of working 35 hours a week, maybe you're only working 20 hours a week. You're making the same amount of money because you're delivering a premium product to a premium customer, right? But this is the number that you really want to be asking yourself, is like, what is my 90 to 95% threshold right now? If she's doing 70 per week and she can't take on more because she's already at that 35 upper cusp, my guess is like that might be as many hours as she can reasonably get on a chair. Therefore, she's leaving money on the table by not charging more. She would be better served by increasing her price until she got down to about 60 appointments per week, because as we know, that's roughly 85% occupied then, right? 85% is pretty damn good. And that's a pretty awesome place to be. Now, if she wants to go even more up market than that, she can charge more. But my guess is, here's the crazy thing, is like, I've just done this math and walked you through this. Like, she's not going to lose more than 15% of her current clientele. I would hazard to guess that she would probably lose none of her current clientele, because if she is that full, it tells me that her clients like her, that they've been with her for a long time, most likely. Haircuts are very sticky. I've been using the same hairdresser for over 5 years. And like, if she raises her price from $50 to $60, I'm not even going to notice. Most people aren't going to notice that and feel the pain significantly enough to want to go run the risk of getting a new hairdresser. If you're getting your haircut by somebody charging $50, which is already like a good price point in the grand scheme of things, right? That's not cost cutters or great clips, right? That's not that clientele. That person is probably not so price sensitive to notice the difference between $50 and $60. So that's how I would think about this. Now, here's the other thing, is that you can also, you know, reasonably assume that she's not just making her money based off of the haircut cost. She's also making money off of the tips, right? Now, here's what's really crazy, is that I wouldn't change how much I tip. And I don't know about you, but like, most people, they have the same tipping number. Either they're going to tip a fixed number and they're going to be like, yeah, put $5 on there, put $10 on there, or they're going to tip a percentage. I'm a percentage tipper. So if they're like, yeah, add a 20% tip on top of that, you know, 20% on top of the 60 is much better than the 20% on top of the 50. So you're actually making even more, because again, that guy is not necessarily going to notice. Like, he's going to just make the same price distinction at 50 as he is 60. You're going to make a lot more money. You're going to have to work a lot less in the process. And honestly, that's a great place to be, because at the end of the day, we want to build businesses that are profitable, not just generating a ton of revenue. This is the highest lever activity that you can do to make more profit in your business. Increase your prices. I would recommend, if you don't feel comfortable with doing it in like one big jump, then just do it slowly but surely. Here's the other idea, is that you don't need to charge all 70 customers the same price. You can have, like, Uber's figured this out, right? Like, what do they call it? Price. I can't remember what they call it. There's a fancy name for it, but it's effectively price elasticity that occurs within the time of day, right? Like, parking costs different amounts in the middle of a weekday than it does during event time when the Timberwolves are playing, versus on a slow Saturday where nothing's happening, right? slow Saturday, it might be $5. During the work week, it might be $100. During a big event, it might be $200, right? And so there's this variable pricing strategy that occurs based off of the demand at the time. So you could have that same concept here, where maybe during the hot hours, I don't know what the hot hours are for cutting your hair. I would assume weekends, because people don't have time during the weekdays to go out and get their haircut. So maybe on the weekends, you're charging $70 for a haircut, and you're okay with the fact that you're gonna have maybe fewer clients, but you have more demand on the weekends, so you can justify that. You'll probably still stay busy. Maybe during the weekdays, on a slow Monday when nobody comes to get their haircut, you incentivize those people to want to come get their haircut by lowering your price down to $50. Right. And so the timing of the price can also play a really big difference here. And then what I would try to do is I would try to stack as many of those 35 hours per week that I'm working during those high value times, those high demand times. I used to work as a bartender. I only worked 2 days a week, and I made as much as the guys who were working 5, 6 days a week, or multiple doubles throughout the week. And the reason for that is because I only worked Fridays and Saturday nights. You make good money on Friday, Saturday nights, right? And so go figure out what those really hot shifts are, those really high demand periods. Charge more during that. Live the rest of your life and do what you want. Go, go take a vacation. Go consume more Amplified Impact podcasts so you can learn how to build a bigger, better business. And then go start your own hair cutting studio. Then start renting out the chairs to other hair clippers. And then now you got a real business. Now you don't just have a job. Now you have a business. Now you're not a solopreneur. Now you are an entrepreneur. So anyway, go raise your prices. That's the moral of the story. Go slowly, incrementally this week. Raise your prices for the next 5 customers that come through the door. Keep doing that until over 80% of them say no. And then say, okay, well, I think I found the upper limit of what I can charge here for now. Stick there. And then try it again. And you should be experimenting with your pricing every 6 months. If you're not tinkering with it, if you're not exploring different pricing strategies, you are leaving money on the table. I guarantee it. So hope you guys found this valuable. If you need more help with this, I have a framework, a strategy that I teach within the Beyond the Apex coaching community, which is for 6 and 7-figure entrepreneurs trying to scale to 8 figures and beyond. It's a structure that we call the pricing prism. If you want to learn more about that, if you want to learn about how you can pull the lever of price within your business to go make way more money, go apply for the group coaching program. Just go to beyondtheapex.com. I'd love the opportunity to work with you. Fill out the application if it's a good fit. And I'm not going to say it's a great fit if you're not doing at least $10,000 per month. If you're below that, then keep, just subscribe to the channel. Keep consuming this free content, implement what you learn, go make a lot of money, then come back and work with me. I would love for the opportunity to help you grow and scale. And if that's you, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go apply, and we'll see you guys in the next video.